My name is Judy Thompson. I was born in Millstone Cottage up the Dale, and then we moved down to Station Road because there was no bathroom in the cottage. And this house I'm in now, Tantivy, my granddad built, I think it was in the 1920s. And the barn at the end, that was the old smithy.
Right, now is that barn at the end that you said was the old smithy, has that got anything to do with Smithy Meadows?
Of course, yeah. You see, when my granddad had this, he used to keep pigs on the back. Where houses are on Smithy Meadows, they weren't there, that was a field. That belonged to John Dalton, the farmer. There's a well outside this barn where I think maybe the blacksmith used to cool his irons off, you know. Well, I'll tell you how we found out. My daughter bought this house. And she found out that the barn had the preservation order on it because I think it was Derbyshire Dale's planning department told us it was the old smithy. I went to Hathersage school at 3. If your mum had more than 2 children and your father was still away, you could go to school early. And I can remember my dad coming back. I was up the Dale, and of course we never saw many men because they were all away fighting. And I can remember him coming home, and I went and hid from him. Yeah, I went down some steps to a well at the bottom of these allotments, and I hid down there. I thought he'll never find me. Just a few people went to Lady Manners. The majority of us went to New Mills.
Did you have to go there on the train then?
Yeah.
Every day?
7:30 in the morning. And some girls, I mean, Heather Renshaw, she lived up in Bronte Cottage under Stanage. I think they used to walk down sometimes from there to catch the 7:30 train. Yeah, they had a heck of a walk.
What fantastic memories of village history, Judy. We'll come back to them shortly. But I want to ask you now what you can remember about Coronation Day itself.
Of the coronation, well, actually I know more about the coronation of 1953. Now we've got television that can show you the film in colour. It just didn't seem interesting in black and white, although we didn't know any different, did we? I mean, your attention span at the age of 9 is only 20 minutes, because nobody had a television then. Don't forget, I don't think they ever closed the road because hardly anybody had a car.
Did people rely on radio then?
Yeah, wireless we called it. Oh, I think it just rained all day. Those years, you see, were austere, weren't they, after the war? And it was about the first big event. So it was a relief to go to the Memorial Hall to watch the coronation on TV. It was in black and white at that time, so I got bored and escaped with my friend to tour the village. I remember the sheep roast. I think that was on the car park of the Ordnance Arms pub. I had a fatty slab of meat in the sandwich and went to watch the maypole dancing. The children doing the dancing were from Hathersage School, and we all received a replica coronation spoon in a fancy box.
Before we started recording, you were telling me about a song that was specially written for the coronation that you were taught whilst you were at Hathersage St Michael's School. Can you tell us a bit more about that, please, Judy?
I don't know when we sang it. I can't remember that. I was only 9 at the time. I know the tune, but I can't sing anymore. It went, Elizabeth of England, as fair as flowers in spring, to you we sing with heart and soul of Britain's pride in you. You led the youth of Britain to work and win success by firm determination when you were our princess. The next line I can't remember. Wherever you have been has won for you devotion as England's fairest queen. I think it may have been Jeff Darwin who taught it. He was the 11 plus class teacher.
You've been away from the village, haven't you, for 60 years?
Yes.
And now you've come back.
Yeah.
So your memories of Hathersage will be as it was all those years ago.
That's correct, yeah.
So I bet you've noticed some changes, haven't you?
Oh, massive changes, yes. At one time, I used to lay in bed at night and I could recall every name of every house in the village.
What shops can you remember?
Right, they were self-sufficient. You didn't really have to go into Sheffield for anything, unless you wanted furniture or clothes. There was the Co-op and Co-op butchers next door, the fruit shop there now. Next to it is that Indian place. That was the Co-op, that building, and the one next to it. There was the garage and repair place, where it is now. Right at the bottom of the village was Mosley's shop, which was a little sweet shop, and I worked there on a Saturday. I think I got £0.50. I was no good at adding up. And Michael Robbins' dad, I used to dread him coming because his was like 1 and 11 and 2 and 11, 2 and 6. Oh, there was no till. So I had to add it up quickly. And everybody who went to school with me knows how hopeless I was at maths. Mr. Robbins used to sit on this seat in the shop and tell me. I used to give me his change back if it was wrong. You know the butcher at the bottom of the village? Can't remember what that was. But anyway, after the George, there was May Darwent's drapery shop. And she was a cod. She knew all the gossip. Everybody went in there for the gossip. She was one of my relations as well. Anyway, she had, you know those drying racks that we used to have over a fire to dry washing? She had one of those in the shop and she used to hang bras and things up. Auntie Gertie, now she had a draper's shop on Crossland Road. May with the other draper's shop was her daughter. Auntie Gertie was about 80-something, but she's still working. She had the front room as a shop.
Where was the shop on Crossland Road?
1, 2, 3, about 4 bay windows down.
From the top? Or?
Yeah,
Oh,
from
right.
the top. And then going further up the village, of course there was the Ordnance Arms pub. Big Bank was still there. The post office, Mr. Ibbotson ran the post office, and Watson family worked at the post office. Yeah, because Mr. Watson was a postman. He used to go around on the deliveries. Miss Watson used to do the cashier thing. And coming further up, there was Asa Littlewood's butcher's shop. My mum used to go in and say, I don't want anything over 10 shilling.
Now, the history books tell us that Hathersage was once really quite industrial. I wonder if you remember if any of the factories were still operating.
I remember the mill at the bottom of near where the Catholic school is. But the Dale, that was running as a button factory because we used to go in the brook and look for pearl buttons. My father told me that Grandad built this house out of the factory chimney, so that must have been out of use then. Now his workshop was down Barnfield. That was the factory, but that was the needle factory, I think. Scratched on the window, my father showed me once. You know, in Charlotte Bronte, when she wrote Jane Eyre, she mentioned Mr. Stevenson's factory. Well, Stevenson was scratched in the glass on the window down there. I can remember the window because it was right next to he had one of those circular saws. We used to ask him to put it on because they got all these straps that went through the factory, you know, all rattling and crashing. We used to love that when we were kids. I remember a notice on the back of the door of the workshop down in Barnfield. Joiners, painters, decorators, builders, undertakers. He did everything.
OK, just a few words then. How do you think the Queen has done throughout her 70-year reign?
No, I think the Queen's done a magnificent job to all the ups and downs that she's had. Yeah, she has.
Well, Judy, I've really enjoyed our chat today. I don't know whether you realise it or not, but much of what you've shared is priceless village history that, but for you, would have been lost forever. You are an amazing lady. It's no wonder you have so many friends.
I've made friends wherever I've been, really. Yeah, sadly most of them are up there in the churchyard now, but quite a few left.
Well, when my sides have stopped aching and the tears of laughter stopped rolling down my cheeks, I shall remember today as one of the most enjoyable interviews so far. Thank you so much.